The transitional leash is a non-corrective management tool. If it's the right fit for your dog, it's an awesome holistic way to promote calmness and bring down energy levels in your dog. The tool uses 2 natural pressure points on a dog that help to bring down energy levels. The first is the bridge of their nose, and the second place is high up on their neck. So the tool doesn't work by itself. A dog has to learn what the tool is before you can start utilizing it in everyday life. It's not necessarily something you have to use all the time, but when you know things get really chaotic and really crazy, like when the kids come home from school, or when guests come over on the weekend, or if you're going to your veterinary appointment, or for some dogs when you're scooping their food or you're making your own food, this is a tool that you can put on your dog to help promote calmness. So the first part of the process is a somewhat slow part because step 1 is just getting your dog to accept this thing on your face. As soon as this goes on, every dog immediately goes into fight mode trying to get this thing off their face. They either try to claw it off, some dogs get real whiny and barky and vocal, or they try to pull out of it. Some dogs just freeze up and don't know what to do and they just stand totally stationary and still. But we really can't start using the tool until the dog gets used to this silly thing on their face and around their neck and they're done doing all of this fight stuff. So step 2 is then teaching our dog, what am I supposed to do with this thing? So we start to teach the dogs that when the energy level kicks up and the adrenaline starts to rise, this is where a lot of our bad behaviors start to come in because the brain is starting to fire off. We utilize pressure of the leash straight above the dog's head. It adds pressure on these 2 natural pressure points on the dog. Then they have to figure out, how do I turn this pressure off? So when a dog stands up and starts to become higher energy, we calmly and quietly apply pressure straight above the dog's head, not moving our feet. We are totally silent. And in a perfect world, we are patiently waiting for our dogs to submit to the situation. Now, submission just means to get smaller. This means I want to take my dog from a standing position. I either want their butt on the ground or, in a perfect world, their stomach on the ground. So if I have my transitional leash and it's on my dog and all of a sudden somebody walks in my door and my dog is like, yes, and they're all pumped and ready to go run over and jump on them, all I do is I keep my feet planted, I apply pressure straight up above their head, and I just wait it out. This requires massive amounts of patience. Us impatient humans tend to want to push our dog's butt down or tell our dog sit or start to talk to them. And all of that does is feed the frenzy and feed the energy in the head. And it doesn't really teach them what we're asking them to do, which is just to relax when you feel this pressure. So as soon as my dog relaxes even a little bit, they might still be whining or crying, but if they put their butt on the ground or in a perfect world, their stomach, pressure comes off and we just hang out. And then if all of a sudden the person walks close to the dog and your dog's like, yeah, woo, you just pressure up and you wait for them to submit again and then pressure down. And what we're teaching them is that when the world is happening around us, and when chaos is ensuing and there's movement in the house or we're out in public and there's stuff going on around us, our dogs can just chill. So many people come to us because their dogs are simply out of control when they walk out that door. They're pulling and lunging and barking and chasing. So if we can start to create a different mindset where we don't have to fire off every time something stimulates us, but instead we learn to just embrace relaxation, our dogs are going to behave a lot better. They're mentally going to be a lot more stable, and your relationship with them is going to become so much stronger. So look, if you're listening to this thinking, man, I could even embrace some of this stuff. I could use more relaxation in my life. I don't have a transitional leash for humans, but get involved in yoga, get involved in meditation, learn how to relax that brain and how to calm yourself. Because we all know that when we can embrace the chaos of the world with a lot more serenity and a lot more calmness and a lot more relaxation and be able to just accept the chaos in the world, we are mentally and physically so much happier and healthier. The same rules apply for your dog. So the next part of this video is going to show you an introduction to the transitional leash on a young puppy for the very first time. Remember that this is just step one of the process. Okay, so remember, this is literally just step one. We've got to get through the fight and get our dogs to just accept this thing on our face with grace before we can start using it in the real world. So again, if this tool was a good tool for your dog, it's not the greatest tool for every dog, but if it was a good tool for your dog, it's an awesome way to have added control in situations that tend to get out of control. People always ask us, so when should I use this? And I always tell them, you put the tool on any time that you struggle with your dog becoming completely chaotic and out of control. And maybe you've tried some different training, or maybe you're trying to use your communication that you learned in Happy Tails, and there's just some limitations that your dog struggles with. So for example, if your dog is conditioned to be highly reactive on a walk, so if they see a dog and they start exploding at that dog, or if you have a herding breed and when a kid goes riding by on their bike, your dog, boom, can't control their instincts. After training, if your dog is on an e-collar, you certainly can attempt to correct those behaviors. But the hard part is if you don't catch them at the perfect time and have an effective level, then sometimes we still lose control. So for example, with the reactive dog, if your dog tends to be explosive on walks at other dogs, the idea is as soon as your dog sees the dog and is like, whoa, dog, you're like, no, don't even think about it. You correct it before the explosion happens. That timing sometimes is hard to get. So the other thing is that you want to make sure you're at a level on your e-collar that's effective, that will shut down the brain from thinking about exploding before it actually happens. But what if your level isn't effective and then boom, your dog goes into chaos? So if that happens, we've got to start by controlling the brain and slowing that brain back down, because you can't correct a dog out of chaos. So this is where the technique may change, and now we go into management mode where I'm going to take control of you, use my pressure up while you're acting like a lunatic, and then we can pressure off as soon as your dog relaxes and carry on our walk, and then turn our remote up and be ready to deal with that next time. Now look, what I just said is very technical and advanced. So if you're not picking up on what I'm throwing down, that's why you've got your lessons with your trainer. And then this tool can be used a little different with every dog. So when you're working one-on-one with your trainer, they'll help you utilize this tool in the best way for your particular dog.